I'm Will, co-founder and head of school at NewCampus. We're an online business school looking at reinventing management training in Southeast Asia. I'm based in Singapore, but originally from Sydney, Australia. We've actually been around for almost 8 years now. We started off with a predecessor, QLC, and we built programs, business and leadership programs with universities in Southeast Asia, China, and the Middle East. And the thesis was still the same. How do you create the next generation of leaders in new industries, new markets, new ways of thinking, learning, leading? We sold this to institutions, but we saw a really exciting opportunity in 2019 to build our own challenger school, our own challenger university. And then when the pandemic hit, it really put spotlight on new ways of learning, new ways of leading teams, new ways of reinventing, what makes a leader. And so how we kind of think about moving forward the next 5, 10, 25 years is what does the next generation of leaders look like, and how can we be at the forefront of helping these people and the organizations that they're part of, move forward in their field. Very good question. So my parents were immigrants. They had migrated to Australia, mom from Vietnam, dad from Hong Kong. So we didn't grow up with much. My mom's side, she actually fled the Vietnam War. And when she came to Australia, a lot of her family members, my uncles, my aunties, my grandparents, really created a lot from nothing. So growing up, even though I had the luxury of having hardworking parents sending me to good schools, I actually saw a lot of entrepreneurship in the traditional sense. Tuck shops, real estate, selling groceries back and forth. My first taste of technology entrepreneurship was actually in my early days in consulting. I would work as a corporate professional with my co-founder, of many years, Faye. That was my first business that gave me a lot of exposure to what building teams online, in this case it was e-commerce, what hypergrowth actually looked like. And then you fast forward almost 10 years, I've really found myself in the same mantra of getting exposure, learning new skills, but at the end of the day, how do you create value? And for me, my thesis, my why now is how can you empower others to get that exposure? How can you empower folks in emerging regions to really lift their families, lift their ecosystems? And what I'm really excited about moving forward is being able to create impact through education. So I think startups and entrepreneurship is really a vehicle, but my personal why is always the same. No one tells you that education companies are the hardest businesses to build. Prior to the pandemic, education and healthcare is actually the slowest moving industries. Policy, branding, stakeholder buy-in, building curriculum, in our case, working with multiple markets online. And I think, as a young first-time entrepreneur, really figuring out that it's not just an idea that needs to execute, it's the years of resilience, the contacts, the pedagogy, the know-how, and essentially the brand that you build out. I'm 8 years into a 20-year journey building the next 100-year-old school. And what that means is how do you have the stamina to keep going? How do you build a legacy? How do you empower your team to have a legacy, to think beyond just a quick flip or a quick growth spurt? What keeps me up now? I think in this climate, this macro downturn, gives me confidence that we've been in the rough. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to my why. How do you lift others, and how can you continuously do more to help people move forward? So that's what I've been losing a lot of sleep on. Building business is hard, but I also think it's one of the greatest opportunities to test human being. Everything from resilience to, personal growth to, in my case, managing expectations with the people, communities, ecosystems around me. Growing up in Australia, coming from an immigrant background, you get a lot of exposure to instability. And I think, as we kind of move forward into a new career landscape, instability is key and it's the norm. And so, when I put together that chart, looking at it at face value, it might make sense because companies will always go through peaks and troughs. But at the end of the day, what I've found as part of my personal journey growing up as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a CEO is this is just part of life. And how do you push yourself to the limits? How do you, learn to take a step back when it's not right for you? And I think at the end of the day, I'm in the human, I'm in the people space and, really observing how my clients, my learners, my peers, my team, my family have been able to stretch themselves. I think that's, a big part of the joy of what I do, and obviously the work that you guys do as well. So, I like to think of it not as a success curve, but it's just, a journey, how people evolve as people. I think this is the first time after 8 years as an entrepreneur that I've really consciously applied, my values into the work I do. And, if you kind of look at early stage companies, they might, take what they've learned from their previous job, or, take the values from your Amazon to Netflix, and you kind of, zombify and you put that on your manifesto, and that becomes your onboarding kit. But I think for me, just like I was after the North Star, I've really, evolved, honed and refined what my personal North Star looks like. What gives me joy, what gives me fulfillment, what gives me drive and why, which again is the genesis of NewCampus and predecessor of how I got here. I think there's always be a pendulum swing in terms of how much value and volume do you put on those values. For me, I think relationship matters is my strength and, what I lead a lot of my thinking and my work and my relationships with. And then for my team, my co-founders, it might lean on the others. For today, I think, as we shot the year and start planning for 2023, it's about how do you really capitalize on those, 4 or 5 value points, especially as we go to even more uncharted territory. But, to answer your question, first and foremost, we're in the people space. And I think, even my work with SOSV or the China Accelerator, it has been a relationship that we've built for almost a decade. So I'm very excited to be here. So I've been part of the SOSV family for a very long time. The predecessor to NewCampus QLC, we actually joined one of your earlier batch in Shanghai. And I think at that time, even though I appreciated the experience, the maturity of our business, maturity of us as founders, was still, super young. We were now early 20s, and you kind of work backwards, probably from my age now. But I think moving forward at the end of the day, if we are building this new type of school that is looking to impact the next generation of leaders, next generation of companies, it's so important to work with like-minded partners that have that breadth and have that speciality. And so for this upcoming, series of, roadshows, partnerships, events, the upcoming pitch session later tonight, it is really about meeting like-minded people in the SOSV ecosystem that, care about building leaders, care about, transforming organizations, and as part of the fundraising process, how do we look for long-term partners that can help NewCampus move forward? At the end of the day, we are really a blend of future of work, education, and hyper-growth leaders. And I feel as though Orbit and SOSV fit in that, really exciting sphere of, those particular categories. Life is short. I sister actually passed away earlier this year, which was obviously very tough for the family, but it made me think a lot about purpose and drive and, in her case, resilience. Fighting cancer for almost a year. I think at the end of the day, it's so easy as an entrepreneur to be tunnel vision and fixated on the problem and solution that you're serving, but it's also so important to take a step back and look after yourself. At the end of the day, we're running a marathon, and everything from mental stability to physical capability, that these things add up. So every time I talk to entrepreneurs now, it's not just about fighting the good fight, but how do you keep yourself ready, resilient, capable to do this for the next 5, 10, 50, 100 years as you plot out that legacy. So sign up for that class, join that F45 or yoga session. Hopefully I can see you there.